Welcome to Living from the Heart. I am your host, Tina Thrussell, also known as Woman Who Dances with Light. I am a spiritual healer, a mindfulness trainer, a NIA teacher. I host women's nurture circles. I am a collaborator for this spiritual networking YYC group, a member of the board of directors of Unity of Calgary. Yes, I wear many, many hats. But the common thread between all of those hats is that I am a messenger of the Shin Dao, the way of the heart, the way of living with love, kindness, compassion for yourself first, so that you can give to the world from that overflow. And the Shin Dao is the fundamental basis for all of the work that I do and all the play that I do. And I'm delighted to play today with my guest, Daniel Olexa, who is an amazing man who has an ability to see the unseen. He sees systems, both personal and professional, that others may not be able to see. And that incredible gift can help people discover their own inner gifts and shine their light and live on purpose. And I am thrilled to introduce you to Daniel Olexa. Good morning. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good. Of all the things I never thought to confirm, it was how to pronounce that. Oh my goodness. So you are recently back from an amazing trip to Peru, and I would love to know how all of this gift of seeing the unseen and being a hypnotherapist to help others see their unseen as well is all tied into that trip to Peru.
Yeah, when I got the calling to do the trip to Peru, it's been a year and a half since the original plans, and it's all evolved since then. It was always about purpose, but I didn't have a clear vision of it when I made the commitment. And what I discovered in the ensuing year and a half is that it pulled in all my gifts of hypnotherapy, of the spiritual work that I do, and connecting to really the work of Michael Newton, if you're familiar with Newton's work of Life Between Lives.
Yeah.
Newton did hypnotherapy work. I believe, if I remember his story correctly, he had a near-death experience and came back from it and then was working with clients and noticed there were themes that were happening when they went to the space after death. And what we did is, in the retreat that I facilitated, on the first day, we went back to most associated with the purpose in this one. And what was the learning? What was the experience in that life to carry forward to have an understanding? And then we let that settle for a day. And our next time we got together, we went to what's the past life most associated with the obstacles we chose to be in this life. Because we, in this meat suit that we wear, we tend to think about the obstacles are keeping me down, when really the obstacles are part of our soul contract in this life to say, what do you need to overcome to really be the person who shines your light and be able to broadcast it boldly? So we connected to all of those, and rather than see them as the thing keeping us down, as the thing that's strengthening our muscles to bring us up, to shine that light from a place of strength and stability. And then we brought it all together on the last day to really integrate it fully so that as everyone left, we were going out ready to change the world.
What a brilliant perspective. I mean, I would say probably 90% of the world looks at obstacles as something that's keeping you down and getting in the way. But wow, to look at that as the opportunity to strengthen and, as you say, build your muscles so that you can face what it is you're here to do with that much more skill and commitment and determination and know-how is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, and it's that annoying thing in culture that we get told we're victims. And then we learn this victim story that the man's keeping me down. Yeah. When you have a choice of whether the man is going to keep you down or whether you're going to get stronger and push back. Make your decision. That's where the strength is.
Yeah, it's true. You know, I think about we can look at lots of examples. People, for example, who come from the ghettos of the United States. You can have one who goes down this path and ends up being in trouble and with the law and maybe even ending up in a gang and being murdered. And then you get someone like Oprah Winfrey, who came from that same kind of background, and look at what she's risen to. Choice. Do you let that stuff keep you down? Or do you say, there's no way it's keeping me down? What is it? What is it that creates that differential? Why is it that some people will fight the good fight and others?
My gut on that, I don't know that I have a definitive answer, but my gut reaction right now, based on the years of doing this work, comes back to how connected are we to our belief in ourselves and our sense of deservedness to live that life. Because as I've worked and written 2 books on the process of creating and manifesting, law of attraction is out there and you can wish for it. And there's that book that's been around for a long time that says, if you just wish for it, it'll work. But no, there's more.
Yeah.
You have to believe that you deserve it. Sense of deservedness, because I talk to my students when I teach life coaching, and I teach for a company called the Certified Life Coach Institute. When we get into a space of discussing deservedness, like, you have to believe you deserve it. Otherwise, you'll self-sabotage across the board, and your clients will do the same things. I work in that field as well. Yes. What's the story you learn? And it's the story you learn of limitation. But if that light inside you keeps flickering, it's like, hey, we're out here. That little carrot of dangling the ideal life in front of you, there is something deep inside that's saying you're bigger than this and you can get past it. It doesn't mean it happens tomorrow in the snap of a finger. But if you keep following that light and realizing that you are bigger than the story you learn, that's the opportunity to grow into it.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And is that what you help people see? That, when you say you see the unseen, is that what you see?
Yeah, I've had clients tell me that I don't see people, I see their souls and I see their light. I have a cat who wants to get into my closet right now, if that's the noise in the background. To be present. That when I'm sitting with someone, whether it's in the space of hypnotherapy or in the space of coaching, I really am working to hear past their story and hear fully into who they are.
Oh, Kitty, I understand. We have a cat who just doesn't like closed doors, and if there's a door closed, he's going to scratch to get in.
That's the worst distraction possible. But that I see them as a whole human being, both their soul light and who they are in this life, and presenting. I have a phrase that we're nothing more than the stories we tell about who we are. And if you want to be different, tell a different story, learn a different story, and be the one that you believe that you deserve to live that story, because that's where the shift takes place. It's not about just thinking it. That's where it starts. Yes. But you have to feel it, because we manifest from emotion. Strongest emotion will always win. And if you don't feel you deserve it, you're not going to manifest it.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Feeling that you deserve it is coming into that place of our heart. What we talk about, the Shin Dao, Shin, heart, Dao, the way of the heart is loving yourself, believing in yourself, having kindness and compassion for yourself, and being willing to step into that journey of discovering true self. A lot of people can find that to be really scary, because I think they're afraid of what they're going to find. And yet, anyone I know, anyone who's worked with us, even myself, when I first started on that journey, I was a bit afraid to see what was going to be there. But everyone I know who's gone down that journey loves what they see in the end. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's all about the risk. It's taking the chance to do it. I just hosted my first international retreat. I had no idea what I was doing going in. So I'm just going to make it up along the way. And that week was truly an experience for me of releasing attachment, particularly attachment to outcome. That there were so many things from the weeks leading up with flights changing to the week we were there. One of our goals, one of the itinerary points on the trip was to visit Machu Picchu. It didn't happen on this trip because the Peruvian rail systems went on strike the day we were supposed to go. We could either get stuck and feel damn like, we didn't get to go, or we shifted our energy. We did everything possible that we could to make it a possible outcome. It still didn't happen because the next day they extended their strike for 5 days. But what we created in the opportunity of that new space was so much more profound and eye-opening, soul-opening of an experience than I have a hunch what we would have experienced had we gone to Machu Picchu.
Yeah. Ultimately, if we trust in the higher power, if we trust source of all, spirit, creator, God, whatever name you use, if we trust that, then everything that happens is always for our highest good. And ultimately is better than what we would have seen for ourselves or created for ourselves. And sometimes it can be a bit challenging to see that in the moment, especially when there's that disappointment factor that comes into play. But yeah, when you look back and you see what happened as a result of that, it's almost, it's amazing is what it is. It's magical. That's what it is. There's your word, right?
Yeah, it's truly magical because we could be attached to the negative, I didn't get to do this. But really in the space of connection, of energetic connection, like what's possible? We're here for something else in that space. And rather than the limiting story that sits up in here of like, I'm supposed to be in this space and I want to be here. No, I'm in this space and I'm here for a reason. And what is it? Because that event didn't take place because there's something better that's supposed to take place. And when we entered into that energy, it was awesome.
Yeah. Delicious is the word that comes to mind. Yeah,
very much so. Oh yeah. Yeah,
nice.
I think I can get her out of it.
Yep.
Go ahead. You're okay. Have fun. There we go.
We've got someone on Facebook that has given us a good morning with a nice big heart, and so we send that good morning back to them. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, by all means, post them. We'll do our best to follow the comments and answer or address, speak to whatever questions you might have. So I know that you have written 3 or been involved in writing 3 Amazon best-selling books.
I've co-written 2 and created 1 myself.
Okay, beautiful. And are they all in a spiritual vein, or are they?
They are. 2 are on the process of creating and manifesting. The first is Practical Manifesting, which was my response and my co-author's response to that other book that's been around for a while. And when I was going through my hypnotherapy training 6 years ago or so, we got to the spiritual work, past life regression, alien attachment, entity attachment. And we started talking about the laws of creating and manifesting. Like, what? Laws? What do you mean plural? What's this all about? And discovered the 21 laws, not just the 1, but the 21 and how they all work together. And in that moment, I have to write a book about this. This has to be more complete than what this other book was. And started the manuscript, was introduced to Iris Turner, who became co-author on that book, because we had very similar views and opinions on that other book and how things should be. So we wanted to create a book that was spiritual, yet also had a grounded aspect to it, so that, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is people who are so grounded that like they're growing roots and they're root vegetables, and 10 are flying off the planet, they have no grounding at all. We kind of knew 5 to 10 was already there. Wanted to give an opportunity for those who are around a 3.5 to jump over and join the party because there
Nice.
was a little bit of leaning. So we started off with a very grounded perspective, more of what I would call in the modern terminology, life mastery. It's the same stuff, just different word.
Yeah.
So we came at it initially from a very life mastery languaging and perspective, and then introduced the work of the chakras, the energetics of the system, discover one of those moments of epiphany that Maslow's hierarchy matches the chakra system. And now if you're a little spooky on chakras, here's another way to look at it, that going from survival to actualization. It's the same thing through the chakra system. So it made that a little more palatable, maybe for those people who were between a 3 and a 5, and got into meditations, all the building, get clear on your goal. And we wrote that book. It became an Amazon #1 bestseller. It was about a year or so later, I started writing what became the second book, called A Pessimist's Guide to Manifesting. And my download there was, you hear people talk about law of attraction all the time. Oh, that crap doesn't work. That's why it doesn't work, because you believe it doesn't work. So the laws are always working. What is your energetic coming into them as far as your belief about them working? And the book, each chapter is a deep dive into each of the 21 laws with, here's how you're coming at it, the reason it's not working, and here's how you shift your perspective to come into alignment with that law, and how certain ones really do work together. And when you can pull them all together and be in that space of awareness and alignment, magic happens.
Cool. I'm just typing a response back. Dee Mago is here. Do you know Dee?
I do not know Dee. Hi, Dee.
Yeah, she said, this is super interesting. Nice to see you. Yes, believing is a big role. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Fun to have you here. That's great. So yeah, but I think about Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And very true in the manifestation process.
Yeah, you are either going to get in your own way, or you're going to get out of your way and be in alignment.
And the really interesting thing for me is that I see people not even realizing that they have these beliefs, right? That it's the subconscious that holds you back, that gets in the way. And that's the beauty of the hypnotherapy.
Yeah, because with hypnotherapy, we're relaxing the conscious mind, getting rid of the churn of what I call the monkey mind, that noise that we hear all the time, that we get into distraction with the news and everything else, or our stories about ourselves. When we relax that and get it quiet, really get connected to who we are and the abundance of our mind and our deeper beliefs, we can get connected both to those stories that serve us and the ones that don't. And typically the ones that don't are the stories we learned as kids. And what we learned at 3, 4, 5, 7 years old doesn't serve us at 25, 30, 40, 50 and beyond. But those subroutines are still working in the program. Mm-hmm. And when we can, I don't want to say erase, because that's not quite it, but when we can overwrite and reprogram them, because they served a purpose. They served a purpose up to that point. They're always about keeping us safe, keeping us in some level, they think, happy and healthy. But they're not in alignment with our highest being and our highest good and highest calling. When we thank them with gratitude, you kept me safe for this long, thanks. I need you to do a different job for me because you're a really strong part, you're a really strong element in my life. Just need you to, let's like upgrade you and give you a promotion to a new job. And then things start taking off.
That's a beautiful analogy. It's like, yeah, time to upgrade you, give you a new job. I remember having a few conversations with my ego in that same way. It's like, I get it. And that's really not serving us very well anymore. So I really need you to do this now. And it does work over time when you stay with it. You can. Well, we know from science today that the brain is neuroplastic, which means that it is malleable, it is changeable. We can reprogram our brains. Those who thought you can't teach an old dog new tricks, sorry, that is so not true. You really can. You really can.
Yeah, who
I
would
think,
have thought that, here we are doing things I never expected to be doing because I was open to the learning and the shift in who I am and learn that inner light calling forward as opposed to the story I learned growing up.
yeah. So here you are. You said you never thought you'd be doing what you're doing. You started off in the corporate world in sales, right?
Hmm. Yeah, my original background is in graphic arts and design. And when I moved in, when I eventually grew into what I'm doing now with hypnotherapy, the moment of the light bulb above my head that was also the fire in my belly that said, this is where you're supposed to be, was a moment that I realized I love problem solving. And the more intricate the problem, the more I love it because I love the negotiation. Let's figure out the absolute best thing. And a couple years later, after making that shift, which brought me into hypnotherapy, brought me into coaching, I was looking back and suddenly everything made sense. That graphic arts and design is nothing more than visual problem solving. I've been
Mm.
doing it my entire life. How do we make all this look good? How do we make it the idea flow? Um, it's funny how our callings show up in unexpected ways, and it's not until we look back to look for that thread going through them they begin to make sense. Because until then, it looked like all these segmented compartments. Like, what was that about? Who knows?
It's true. It's true. Hindsight is better than foresight. There's so much truth in that. When you can look back and, as you say, see the common threads, that's a clue.
Mhm.
That's a clue to what you're here to do, what your purpose is, what your calling is. And it's wonderful to have people such as yourself help people come to that place of discovering that. And I read a testimonial from someone that you'd worked with who said, the beautiful thing about Daniel is that he helps you discover for yourself, which is so much more powerful than someone telling you.
I can't tell anybody anything. All I can do is hold the space and ask the questions to help you go inside and find it for yourself. It's not my place to tell you who you are because that's my limitation of my perception of you saying this is who you are and what you should do. That is absolutely against everything that I do.
Hmm.
I sit and hold the space for my clients to discover who they are. I make it a sense of something, that intuitive sense that kicks in. And my role is to ask them the questions that cause them to go deeper in to find out who they are. Not about me telling them. That is not my role in this life. You can only
So,
discover who you are by yourself.
so in the beginning, was that challenging? Because you have this ability to see it. I mean, you see it, you can see what's going on for them. The temptation to just tell them, like, here it is. I can see it plain as day. Did it take you a while to grow past that?
Yeah, because there's that natural aptitude of wanting to like look right there. And if they're not ready to see it, they're not ready to see it. And that was one of the big things with hypnotherapy as well. Your subconscious mind will never bring up anything you're not ready to process. So if not to go dark, but let's say there was a trauma in someone's life, and we'll stick with this life. There was a trauma that they're not ready to deal with that is still affecting them in this time in their life. If they're not ready to deal with it, that memory will not come forward. And I'll also have the conversation with clients that if they do find themselves, say, in a childhood regression, going back to a moment that's a traumatic experience, they're there remembering it now because they're ready to process it, and that takes some of the sting away. And then there's other tools and techniques we can use to kind of disassociate from it so they can get the learning without being fully immersed in it. Whatever is appropriate for them. Again, it's not my choice. I can offer options, or as my wife and I have a Peloton, and one of the instructors, Dennis Morton, loves to say, I'm here to make suggestions, you make decisions.
Yeah, that's going to be comforting for people who've kind of shied away from hypnotherapy because, well, let's face it, hypnotherapy became famous from stage shows. some guy getting up there at the front and making people do silly things, and the audience laugh, and they're like, I don't want to do things that I don't want to do that will embarrass me. That right? It's not that at all.
Can I make a distinction there? Because this is one of the things that irritates me to no end.
Okay.
Hypnotherapy didn't become famous from stage shows. Hypnosis became famous from stage shows. Hypnotherapy is something entirely different because it's not about entertainment. That's one of like push buttons.
Well, and it's obvious that I brought that up for a reason, so that
there we go.
Make that distinction for people, because it's true, right? Yeah, there is hypnosis, the stage show, and there's hypnotherapy. There's the key word, therapy, therapeutic work to help you get to the core of what's going on, so you can move beyond it and move through it and move forward in your life in a beautiful way that honors who you truly are.
Yeah, because you're connecting back to, for me in my work, connecting back to that soul essence. I don't necessarily see clients for the things that other hypnotherapists see them for. I don't do smoking cessation. You want that? There's a program for that on my website. I did it a long time ago. I don't see clients for those things. I see clients who want to rediscover who they are. And I say rediscover because at some point you knew it. And you forgot it. It's time to get back. When you're ready to do the work, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Yes, rediscover who you are. Because you're right, we all knew at some point. It might have been that short little period when we were 1 or 2 years old, even, right? Before all of the stuff of life, the stories that were fed to us that had us heading down a different path for some good reason, obviously, in the end. But yes, when we're ready, as you say, when it's time, then we come back to looking at who we are, stepping into what can we bring into the world. And when we're in that place, this is the thing that's key for me, is that people start to experience more joy in their lives. Joy is a big word for me. Joy is what I'm here to spread joy in the world. And if anything I can do to help you come to a place of being able to be more open to experience more joy, well, how great is that?
Because that's where we really create abundance and connect to it. The universe out there, God, source, whatever you want to call it, it is a place of limitless joy and love. And we are all part of it. So that means we have a divine birthright to access it. But we get told, particularly by religion, not all, some, that we're separate from it, and we have to bow and plead and everything else to have that worthiness to come back. You're already worthy. You're worthy by being in this life. And the remembering of that and getting out of this nonsensical story of limitation is where the breakthrough comes.
Absolutely. Yes. I would definitely say that's when life changed for me. And I'm sure you can probably say the same for yourself. Yes.
Yeah. I think the first, I need to think about this for a minute. Like, I've danced in that space so often, and I've discovered a few like organized religions that really embrace that idea, particularly unity. I love their message of absolute inclusion. And when my wife and I lived in Florida, we went to the Unity Church there. Awesome place. And since moving to California, I've shifted my energy to a different place of being, but still really embrace that message that we're all here, we are all equal, we are all part of this one bigger thing. And it's like we're all different facets of the same gemstone. So we all reflect the light a little differently, and we can either get stuck in the stories of your light's not like my light, so I don't like you. Or we can realize that all these reflections, all these refractions are necessary when the light comes back to the totality of we'll just use the metaphor of white light. All those 7 colors, when it refracts through the prism, they need to be there when it comes back together, so it's total white light again.
Yes, yes. That's lovely. That's a nice analogy. So we're really getting, I was going to say we're getting close. No, we are at our half hour. So before we disappear here, I would like to offer everyone who is watching, or in the case of the audio listening, access to your website. So it's danielolexa.com, DANIELOLEXA.com. And I've been on your website. What they're going to find there are some interesting stories about who you are and how you approach life. There's some information about your upcoming Peru trips in 2021. What else is your website going to?
You will get, if you go into my blog section, you will get a really deep experience of my sarcasm and my way of looking at life, because I tend not to pull any punches and I tend to be very blunt, from a very loving place, of course. But you'll get a very distinct view of how I go about my work, and I have a lot of fun with it. I do use some foul language every now and then because it's just authentic to who I am.
That's beautiful. So if you as viewers or listeners want to have some fun, want to cut to the chase, are ready to do some real work, then I encourage you to contact Daniel and talk to him about whether or not it's right for you to work together. And I also want to let people know that if you like my energy and you think you might like to work with me, I'm going to flash a little special offer on the screen. So for anyone who is a listener or viewer to my Living from the Heart show, I offer a $20 discount on my Shindao Heartway sessions. So these are sessions that combine energy work and the use of light and sound wellness techniques to help release energy blockages, to let go of pain and suffering, to experience relief from all of that, to feel more joy, to feel lighter, calm, peaceful, relaxed, and have some clarity in your life. So when you enter HEART with a capital H, you'll save $20 on your Shindao session. And you can book that at bestyoucanbe.ca/book Tina. And I also want to remind folks that we have a YouTube channel where there are now, as of today, going to be 53 episodes of Living from the Heart, as well as episodes of Neil's Uplift Show and other great videos. It's bestyoucanbe.ca, BEST, the letter U, CAN, the letter B.ca. And the audio podcast for this show, as well as the other 52 shows, are at podcast.bestyoucanbe.ca. So Daniel, coming back, is there a final message that you would like to offer our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, as we move into the holiday season, and particularly this year, it's been this incredibly interesting year of opportunity. If we move away from the stories we're told of how terrible it's been a wonderful pause to get back connected with us and who we are. And I offer, as you take the time and the pause over the holidays to take a deep breath and get connected to your heart and soul, that any story that comes up within you that tells you you are less than or causes you worry is lying to you. The story that tells you and the hope and the light that you see going forward of greater achievements, of living happiness, living joy, living abundance, that's the truth. Breathe into that and realize you deserve it and own it and believe it.
Thank you. That's a beautiful, beautiful final message not only for this show, but for this season. I'm going to be pausing the Living from the Heart show until the new year. So I thank everyone who has been following these shows. I invite you to join us again in January when we'll have a new round of beautiful heart-based people like Daniel joining me on the show. I thank you so much for your
Thank you,
wisdom
Tina.
and your open sharing. Thank you for being here with us today. And until January, ciao for now.